Hello! So in this video we are starting off where we finished off last video, back round this block here. I could finish this area here and I'll probably do that later in the video, but while I'm doing that I'm actually going to start planning out a massive expansion. Now this will be the first sort of major expansion, so we're moving away from this waterfront here and over to the beach. The first thing I want to do is to get rid of this small plan I've got for the dockside building that's actually way off there in the distance. There we go, that's now cleared the space nicely, and now you can see I've got a lot of space to work with. I've actually gone for a very small island, as you can see. It's quite small in scale because for this first city that I'm doing, I thought I'd just keep it manageable, and so hopefully by the end we'll have like a whole island that's like this big city. And I think that'll look pretty cool, as opposed to trying to do a massive island and then not finishing it. Also, I think it will be quite simple to expand if needed, and I probably don't even need to follow the terrain, so it's likely it will end up a lot bigger than the actual island. So yeah, this is just like I'm sort of following the sea, and then as you can see we've got some mountains around the back here, which will limit us on size a bit. But also I think it will be cool to incorporate these mountains, possibly make them a bit like wider and rounder so that they can act as a sort of observation point for the city. Right, so let's get started on planning this road. Okay, so I'm currently roughly marking out where it's going to intersect, but I think currently it's a bit too close to these buildings, so I'll probably just move it back about 3 blocks, and I think that'll work well. Okay, so as you can see, this is now what we've got planned out. It is of course very rough. This is not going to at all look like the final result, but what I'm basically thinking is this is going to be a car park area. It's probably going to be a lot smaller because this will take up most of the beachfront otherwise. And then over here you can see I've just also got a road that's going up. So basically what I try with these slopes is to not make them too steep. So actually I've gone up every 6 blocks, which I'd say is basically the maximum for realistically what you'd do with a road. And because it's only 2 lanes, I think I sort of get away with it. If it was 3 lanes or 4 lanes, I think I'd probably reduce that to like 1 every 8 blocks. Right, let's continue with just planning everything out. Okay, so as you can see, I've basically got everything planned out in terms of the car park, and then probably over the edge here is probably just going to be the seawall. Because I've got a lot of space marked out for trees, all of these areas here are probably going to be palm trees and things. Okay, so now what I've done is I've taken the style of tree, the palm tree from over here, and I've pasted it to over here. And what I've done in particular is I've decided to sort of place it in a curved pattern, sort of complement the curvature of this building here. And it also just sort of helps break up from the grid pattern that is very easy to get into in Minecraft. And so what I've started doing as well is I've started just sort of decorating the bottom with some greenery. And I'm thinking I might even copy that tree behind me, the new one I designed. I think it might work better just as like a one-off tree to sort of go in this corner here. I've also added these mini sort of olive trees, I guess, I don't know. And now the car park is actually something that works well on the survival world, because as you can see it takes up a lot of space, easily the space of a building, but you don't need to build a building. And so other things like tennis courts and park also have the same functionality. Okay, so now I've done a bit more progress on this area here. I've made this pavement a lot more interesting. As you can see, I've done my usual like stylizing it with some brick patterns and things. Of course, I've also mixed in some andesite. It makes a surprising difference. And okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I think we need a bit more visual separation from the car park with what's going to be behind it. So I'm just going to add a fence here using iron bars and walls and things. Okay, so now we've finally basically sort of completed this area here. I think I'm very happy to move on to something that I've been really waiting to do now, and that is the marina. So what I'm thinking is currently, so I'll have a sort of main walkway around the edge here, and then that's going to be in some sort of concrete colour or something. And then we'll have a lot of sort of wooden deckways coming out from that. And I'm thinking on the very end, to separate it from the beach nicely, I'll probably have like a bunch of rubble and stuff. And so on one side of the rubble is the marina, on the other side's the beach. And I just think that will separate it nicely. Okay, so now we've got this platform here. This is going to be like our decking, which is going to be where the boats will tow to. But as you can see, this is sort of the spacing I've got planned out. And as I've started already, what I'm probably going to do next is something that I really needed to do when I started, all the way over back here. And that is replace some of the sand with some darker blocks, namely gravel, but I might also add in some tuff, as that's got that sort of underwater grimy look to it. As you can see where it goes from dark to just the sand, that does look a bit weird. Okay, so I think we've got some progress. As you can see behind me, this is me starting on some rock work where it's going to sort of edge off like the marina, as I said, and very much separate it from the beach. As you can see, we've got a variety of stairs, slabs, tuff and gravel. And I think actually, as you can probably see from my inventory, we're going to see if I can add some coral blocks and things to make even more textural variety. I think that's looking okay. I might come back to just finish it off though as it approaches the beach. Now the next thing to do is to fix these little pontoons we've got here, because I realised I've got them lifted up with stilts, which isn't really accurate. They're meant to be floating, but so I want to still add some sort of detail. So this is what I mean. As you can see, like these are sort of attachments to these things that look like they're sort of holding it up by like floating. And also now, as you can see, I've added a bit of texture here. This is just an example of some added texture to the decking on the side. I've chosen light grey concrete powder to contrast with where we've just got stone above, as it's a bit lighter, which is nice. But now I think it's worth finishing off what we're doing over here before we actually start moving on to this entire beach section. So the next thing I'm going to do is things like adding a lot of roofs to all of these buildings which are missing them, and possibly a few more street details. So let's do that. Okay, so now what I've just done is I've capped off the top of this building here by just altering the top slightly with some slabs above. But the thing I really want to change is this side here, because I think it's a bit busy with this sort of cross pattern. So I'm going to actually redesign it. So that took longer than expected, but here's a side to this building that I'm more happy with. I've made it asymmetrical this time because I felt like that gave it more personality. So I'll just copy this to the other side, top it off, and then we can just add some roof details. Okay, so now that we've got this basic roof at least of andesite laid in, it's looking a lot more complete. However, it's looking extremely flat. But I'm thinking maybe of adding a rooftop pool, or at least adding some kind of decking with a lounge or something. And then elsewhere we could have all the ventilation shafts, as you can see that I've put over here. Okay, so now I'm just beginning a small garden deck area on the rooftop here. And of course for the edging I've just gone with stairs, however of course it's then the oak plank stairs. Now behind me you can see I've finished the roof of this. I might have gone a bit over complex, but I thought it looked pretty cool, because actually when you're flying above, like, you do see a lot of the roof, so maybe going over complicated isn't too bad. So anyway, as you can see, I've added a few solar panels. No, they're not actually facing south, but as long as they're all facing the same way, it sort of makes sense. Anyway, I've also added some deck chairs, some lounges, and some parasols. Now, importantly for this, you can see I've got the pillow of the bed facing inwards, which looks like it's striped, because otherwise, if you place it like that, they kind of look weird. I mean, it's not too big of a deal, it's just a small detail that I like to mention. So next up, you might have seen that I've been starting on adding a few ventilation shafts to this building here. So what I'm going to do is, to create the effect of wires, you can actually use the stairs embedded into it. And I think that looks pretty cool. Okay, so now I'm moving over from here, and we're going to do some progress over here, finishing off all these other roofs. So of course, as you can see, I've started with this one here, And I've decided to go for a different sort of tiled roof as opposed to just the andesite, as I thought that gave it a nice light look in keeping with the build. On top, I'm thinking of also adding a rooftop garden as I've done down there. It might be overdoing it as I've already done it over there, but I don't think it will be, as I think a few rooftop gardens is a pretty cool thing to have. And then I'll probably just speed run the rest of these roofs here, so let's do that. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that time lapse. As you can see, we've got a lot more progress done. So firstly, I've added the place where the elevator would be through the middle, as well as the emergency stairs, where I've just got a small doorway leading to that. I've gone for some small lawns here with the cornflowers, as I've gone with down there as well. However, I haven't got the tall trees, only the small trees here. And then we've got some small flower pots here and things, as well as some beds, which is quite nice. And then we've got a small wall that separates all the mechanical stuff. I've just realised I've forgotten to put the rails on this, so I'll do that now. And then just a small patch of solar panels, which I think is quite funny, they've just realised they need to be more environmentally friendly or something. Anyway, next I sort of just cleared up this roof. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with it. This actually took a really surprisingly long time just to get everything tidied up and the roof of this finished. And I'm still not overly happy with it. I've also edited this side here. As you can see, I've made it just more similar, where the base is basically the same as behind it, just without the horizontal andesite slabs. Okay, moving on to this next one. This is where I started going a bit more simple with the roofs. So we've just got some more basic, more integrated solar panels and a few sort of air conditioning vents more embedded into the roof. And I think that looks pretty good. And then for this one, to be honest, I'm not too sure how keen I am on how this building sort of just ends. I might need to round it off or maybe even somehow extend it a bit. Okay, so now I've basically done a bit more work on the base. I've sort of just finished it off with just a basic wall back round the back here. And I've done similarly round this side over here, where it's less elegant because it's right up against this wall. And I've also just I've just finished off this grass edging here. And then maybe later we can add some more details, but currently I want to continue on my streak of doing the roofs and move on to this building over here. Okay, so this is what I've got so far. As you can see, the top floor is one block higher than the other floors, because I think it just makes it look a bit more important, which is what it's meant to. And so now to decorate the top, I'm probably going to add some embedded solar panels like I've done over there. So the way I do this is I basically get a whole sheet of daylight detectors, and then I can just carve into them. Then I'm going to copy this and rotate it the other side. So as the whole thing shifts by one block, I wasn't actually too bothered about this one being shorter on the end, because then it means that these lines line up. So actually that's worked out pretty well, but I'll probably try and keep it simple. Okay, so now because I don't want to bore you with roofs, I'll show you some more progress over here, where I've pasted in the apartments from my recent time-lapse video and extended this road here. One change I've made to the ground around it, the base, is I've added in this tile pattern. And so here to fill up this space will be a smaller, shorter, maybe 1 or 2 story sort of diner or restaurant maybe. Okay, so now behind me, as you can see, I've added the cornerside restaurant. I do think it's quite nice to vary the height of the building, so this is like only 2 stories. So yeah, it's got this interesting kind of old look, which is why I kind of like using the polished diorite stairs, as it definitely has that slightly dated look to it. And just in case you're interested, this is the back over here. As you can see, I've added like a small area here. This might be like where the toilets go, I don't know. It just looks interesting and adds some interest. So to finish off for today, I think I'm going to continue connecting up the bricked tile pattern on the pavement and possibly add some decorations like sunshades, benches, seats and things outside this restaurant. Okay, so there we go. Now, instead of using beds, I've actually used mangrove wood, as I felt like it had a more mature, muted look to it. Now also, you can see I've added an entrance here because it did lack an entrance, and so now it makes sense that like these are sort of inviting you in. And I've also added some outdoor seating underneath the sort of sheltered bit here. Right, so there we go, and now we can move back to the marina to finish the video. Okay, so now I've just finished off the path going now round this way, and here we've got a little proof of concept of what I'm thinking for the beach. So this is sort of like California inspired, if you've ever seen like pictures of Venice Beach, that kind of area. And so round like this little outcrop here will probably be some kind of skate park or something. But I think we're running out of time to build that today. And so yeah, then next episode we're probably going to work around here and add some more buildings here. But I'm pretty happy with the progress for today. I hope you're happy with the progress. Just to recap, we started by extending the road and building this car park here, which I think ended up pretty nice. There's still a lot of road markings to work on, and so we'll finish that next episode. Then we did this area here where we added more palm trees and it added this interesting tile pattern here, and I think that looks pretty good. Then we added a small marina around the edge, and then we've just finished off all of the roofs, and then added in this building and this new restaurant with the seats and parasols outside of it, and I think that's all come together pretty well. If you've got this far in the video, thank you very much for watching, and if you really enjoyed it, you could like and subscribe, as I always appreciate it. And anyway, thank you very much for watching, as always.